All right, everybody, we're back again. We're here with continuing education. I'm Minister James Moss, and we're in the book of Luke, chapter 20. We're going to cover verses 9 through 19. And this one is Jesus tells the parable of the evil farmers. And this is another one I like, too, because it steps on some toes of some people out there, right? Oh, yeah. So let me see here. Do this a little bit. That's good. Okay, so here we go. After his confrontation of the Jewish religious leaders, Jesus told a parable that revealed the spiritual realities behind his conflict with them. The parable indirectly answered their questions about his authority, showed them that he knew about their plan to kill him, and revealed the judgment that awaited them. So basically, he's like, okay, I'm going to show you, I know what's up with you. All right, so here we go. All right. Then began he to speak to the people this parable. A certain man planted a vineyard and led it forth to husbandmen, and went into a far country for a long time. And at the season he sent a servant to the husbandmen that they should give him of the fruit of the vineyard. But the husbandmen beat him and sent him away empty. And again he sent another servant, and they beat him also and entreated him shamefully and sent him away empty. And again he sent a third, and they wounded him also and cast him out. Then said the Lord of the vineyard, What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. It may be they will reverence him when they see him. But when the husbandmen saw him, they reasoned among themselves, saying, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, that the inheritance may be ours. So they cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. What therefore shall the Lord of the vineyard do unto them? He shall come and destroy these husbandmen, and shall give the vineyard to others. And when they heard it, they said, God forbid. And he told them and said, What is this then that is written? The stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner. Whosoever shall fall upon that stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder. And the chief priests and the scribes the same hour sought to lay hands on him, and they feared the people, for they perceived that he had spoken this parable against them. You talking about me? Oh, yeah, I'm talking about you. You, and you. All y'all in the funny suits. All right, here we go. Verse 9. The characters in this story are easily identified. The owner of the vineyard is God. The vineyard is Israel. The tenant farmers are the religious leaders. The servants are the prophets and priests God sent to Israel. The Son is the Messiah, Jesus. The others are the Gentiles. The comparison of Israel to a vineyard is common in the Old Testament. It pictures God's work and patient care in tending and caring for his people. Jesus described a common business method of the time: an absentee owner who hired tenant farmers to care for the fields and crops. The tenant farmers paid their rent by giving a portion of the crop to the landowner, who would send servants at harvest time to collect it. Tensions often arose. Records exist of bitter disputes between landowners and their tenants. Verses 10 through 12. When the grape harvest came, the landowner sent one of his servants to collect the rent, namely his share of the crop. The servants represented the prophets and priests from whom God had sent over the years to the nation of Israel. The picture of angry farmers beating the landowner's servants and sending them on their way without any rent pictured the religious leaders who were entrusted with the care of the vineyard. Instead of listening to the prophets, they had treated them shamefully and sent them away, stubbornly refusing to listen. Some had been beaten, and some had been killed, and some had been stoned. Jesus was reminding the religious leaders that God's prophets often had been ridiculed and persecuted by God's people. Verse 13. The fact that this landowner had not already punished the farmers for their treatment of his servants shows a man of great patience. This pictures God, who has been very patient with his people over the centuries, even when they stubbornly refused to listen to his messages through the prophets. So the landowner sent his son to collect the fruit of the vineyard in hopes that the farmers would give him due honor and respect. The son refers to Jesus. With these words, Jesus implicitly answered the religious leaders' questions regarding the source of his authority. Like the son in this parable, Jesus had been sent on behalf of the Father. He was acting with God the Father's authority. The Son had been sent to the stubborn and rebellious nation of Israel to win them back to God. Verses 14 through 16. The historical situation behind this section reflects the law that property would go to anyone in possession of it when the master died. The tenants probably thought that the arrival of the son meant that his father had died. They reasoned, therefore, that if they killed the son, they could claim the property as their own. So they murdered the son. With these words, Jesus was revealing to the religious leaders his knowledge of their desire to kill him. Jesus asked his listeners what they thought the owner would do to his tenant farmers when he found out that they had killed his son. The answer: he will come and kill those tenants. Over hundreds of years, Israel's kings and religious leaders had rejected God's prophets, beating, humiliating, and killing them. Most recently, John the Baptist had been rejected as a prophet of Israel's leaders. Finally, Jesus, the beloved Son of God, already rejected by the religious leaders, would be killed. Jesus explained that the Jewish leaders would be punished for his death because in rejecting the messengers and the Son, they were also rejecting God himself. Jesus added that not only would the wicked tenant farmers be killed, but that the owner would lease the vineyard to others. God's judgment on the Jewish people who rejected him would result in the transfer of the privileges of ownership to others, namely the Gentiles. Jesus was speaking of the beginning of the Christian church among the Gentiles. Verses 17 and 18. Quoting Psalms 118:22, Jesus showed the unbelieving leaders that even their rejection of the Messiah had been prophesied in Scripture. Psalm 118 was a key part of the Passover service. All the pilgrims coming to Passover would recite Psalms 118:25 and 26 as they came to Jerusalem. The religious leaders had been reciting this passage for years without understanding or applying it. In Jesus' quotation, the son of the parable became the stone of this prophecy. The tenant farmers of the parable became the builders. Rejecting the cornerstone was dangerous. A person could be tripped or crushed. Jesus used this metaphor to show that one stone can affect people different ways, depending on how they relate to it. Ideally, they will build on it. Many, however, will trip over it. Although Jesus had been rejected by many of his people, he would become the cornerstone of his new building, the church. Verse 19, the delegation that had been sent to demand answers from Jesus realized that Jesus was pointing at them. They were the farmers in the story. They would have arrested Jesus on the spot, but he was still surrounded by crowds of eager listeners, and they were afraid there would be a riot. There was nothing to do but go away to gather new ideas and think of new questions to try to trap Jesus. All right, so this is where Jesus tells the parable of the wicked farmers. And this was after being questioned by all these religious leaders. And so when you see this and you hear religious leaders, understand it wasn't just the Pharisees. The Pharisees was a party, so was the Sadducees, the Essenes, the Herodians, the Seleucids, all that. They were different parties, but they were all considered leaders of some group or sect or cult or whatever. So the religious leaders all came at him with different questions, thought they were going to trip him up. And then once he sufficed all of their answers or shut them up, then he came back with the parable of the wicked farmers and pretty much exposed them. And they, from the parables, understood what he was saying, that he was actually talking to them. Like, I see you behind the bush. I see what you got going on. I know what you're going to do. Don't worry about it. We're here. This, and so because he openly and publicly called them out, they wanted to kill. They wanted to lay hands on them right then and there, but they were like, the crowds are too big. If we do this, it's going to create a riot. It's not going to end up pretty. We got to figure out another way to do it. So look, until next time, God bless you. God keep you. And as I always say, keep studying. It pays off. Trust me, it does.